According to National Electrical Code Section 220.22, the neutral conductor for Subpanel must be sized to handle the unbalanced current that may occur on the system. The minimum size required is firstly, 70% of the phase conductor ampacity when the circuit does not supply nonlinear loads such as rectifiers or electronic ballasts. Secondly, 100% of the phase conductor ampacity when the circuit does supply nonlinear loads. In your case, since the subpanel will only have 1200 volt amps of 120 volts lighting and the rest is 208 volts lighting, there is minimal unbalanced load. Therefore, a neutral conductor sized at 70% of the phase conductor ampacity would be sufficient. However, it is recommended to size the neutral conductor at least equal to the required equipment grounding conductor size. This is because the neutral conductor also serves as the return path for fault currents and can help to prevent electrical hazards. Based on the National Electrical Code requirements and recommended practice, it is recommended to provide a neutral conductor sized at least equal to the equipment grounding conductor size for your 200 amp subpanel. This will ensure proper operation and safety for your electrical system. When determining the appropriate size for a neutral conductor in the subpanel, several factors must be taken into account to ensure safety and compliance with the National Electrical Code. These factors include the anticipated load types, the system voltage, and the applicable code requirements. Firstly, let's discuss the load types. The type of loads connected to the subpanel significantly impacts the neutral conductor sizing. Linear loads, such as incandescent lighting and resistive heating, draw current evenly throughout the alternating current cycle. In contrast, nonlinear loads such as electronic ballast, variable frequency drives, and switching mode power supplies draw current in short pulses, creating harmonic currents that can overload the neutral conductor. Secondly, let's discuss the National Electrical Code requirements. National Electrical Code Section 220.61 provides guidance on sizing the neutral conductor for dwelling units. This section allows for a demand factor to be applied to the neutral load calculation, recognizing that not all connected loads will operate simultaneously at their maximum rating. For services and feeders supplying household ranges, ovens, and electric clothes dryers, the neutral conductor can be sized smaller than the phase conductors, provided it is large enough to carry the maximum unbalanced load. Thirdly, let's discuss the unbalanced load calculation. The unbalanced load is the maximum difference in current between any two phase conductors. This difference is what the neutral conductor must be able to carry. For a single phase 120 volts or 240 volt system, the unbalanced load is simply the difference between the current on each phase. For a three-phase system, the calculation is more complex and requires considering the phase angles and magnitudes of the individual phase currents. Fourthly, let's discuss the minimum neutral conductor size. The National Electrical Code specifies minimum sizes for neutral conductors based on the size of the phase conductors. For example, National Electrical Code Table 310.16 provides ampacity ratings for conductors based on their size and insulation type. The neutral conductor must have an ampacity equal to or greater than the calculated unbalanced load, but not less than the minimum size specified in the National Electrical Code. Fifthly, let's discuss the equipment grounding conductor. The equipment grounding conductor provides a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, helping to quickly trip the circuit breaker or fuse and minimize the risk of electric shock. The equipment grounding conductor must be sized according to National Electrical Code Table 250.122, which is based on the size of the overcurrent protection device protecting the circuit. Sixthly, let's discuss the voltage drop. Voltage drop is the reduction in voltage that occurs along a conductor due to its resistance. Excessive voltage drop can cause equipment to malfunction, reduce lighting brightness, and increase energy consumption. The National Electrical Code recommends limiting voltage drop to no more than 3% for feeders and 5% for branch circuits. The neutral conductor contributes to voltage drop, so it is essential to consider its size when calculating voltage drop. Seventhly, let's talk about damping factors. Dating factors are adjustments made to the ampacity of conductors to account for factors such as high ambient temperatures, multiple conductors in a raceway, and continuous loads. These factors can reduce the allowable ampacity of a conductor, requiring a larger conductor size to carry the same amount of current. Dating factors must be applied to both the phase conductors and the neutral conductor. Eighthly, let's talk about the harmonic currents. Harmonic currents are currents with frequencies that are multiples of the fundamental frequency of the alternating current system, which is typically 60 Hz. Nonlinear loads generate harmonic currents, which can overload the neutral conductor, cause overheating, and interfere with sensitive electronic equipment. If the subpanel supplies a significant amount of nonlinear loads, it may be necessary to increase the size of the neutral conductor to handle the harmonic currents. Ninthly, let's discuss the neutral current monitoring. Neutral current monitoring is the process of measuring the current flowing through the neutral conductor to detect imbalances or harmonic currents. This can be done using a clamp-on ammeter or a permanently installed monitoring system. Monitoring the neutral current can help identify potential problems and prevent equipment damage or electrical hazards. Tenthly, let's talk about the example calculation. Consider a 200 amp subpole supplied by a 120 volts or 208 volts three-phase system. The subpole will supply 1200 volt amps of 120 volts lighting, and the rest of the panel will all be supplying lighting at 208 volts. To determine the minimum neutral conductor size, firstly calculate the imbalance load. The 1200 volt amps of 120 volts lighting will draw 10 amps of current on one phase. The 208 volts lighting will be balanced across the three phases, so it will not contribute to the imbalance load. Therefore, the unbalanced load is 10 amps. Secondly, determine the minimum neutral conductor size based on the National Electrical Code requirements. National Electrical Code Section 220.22 states that the neutral conductor must be sized to carry the maximum unbalanced load. In this case, the unbalanced load is 10 amps, so the neutral conductor must have an ampacity of at least 10 amps. National Electrical Code Table 310.16 shows that a number 14 American wire gauge copper conductor has an ampacity of 14 amps, which is sufficient to carry the unbalanced load. Thirdly, consider the equipment grounding conductor size. National Electrical Code Table 250.122 specifies the minimum size of the equipment grounding conductor based on the size of the overcurrent protection device protecting the circuit. For a 200 amp subpanel, the overcurrent protection device will be a 200 amp circuit breaker. National Electrical Code Table 250.122 shows that a number 6 American wire gauge copper conductor is required for a 200 amp circuit breaker. Fourthly, compare the minimum neutral conductor size to the equipment grounding conductor size. In this case, the minimum neutral conductor size is number 14 American wire gauge and the equipment grounding conductor size is number 6 American wire gauge. Since the equipment grounding conductor is larger, it is recommended to size the neutral conductor at least equal to the equipment grounding conductor size. Therefore, the recommended neutral conductor size for this 200 amp subpole is number 6 American wire gauge copper. In summary, properly sizing the neutral conductor for a subpanel is crucial for ensuring safety and compliance with the National Electrical Code. Factors such as load types, National Electrical Code requirements, unbalanced load calculations, minimum conductor sizes, equipment grounding conductors, voltage drop, dating factors, harmonic currents, and neutral current monitoring must be considered. By carefully evaluating these factors and performing the necessary calculations, you can select the appropriate neutral conductor size for your subpanel and ensure the safe and reliable operation of your electrical system. Furthermore, let's discuss some additional considerations for sizing the neutral conductor in a subpanel. Firstly, consider the future expansion. If you anticipate adding more loads to the subpanel in the future, it is wise to size the neutral conductor larger than the minimum required size to accommodate the increased load. This can save you the cost and hassle of having to replace the neutral conductor later on. Secondly, consider the conductor material. Copper and aluminum are the two most common conductor materials used in electrical wiring. Copper has a higher conductivity than aluminum, meaning it can carry more current for the same size conductor. However, aluminum is less expensive than copper. When selecting the conductor material, consider the cost, conductivity, and weight of each material. Thirdly, consider the insulation type. The insulation type of the conductor affects its ampacity rating. Conductors with higher temperature ratings can carry more current than conductors with lower temperature ratings. Common insulation types include thermoplastic, high heat-resistant nylon, cross-linked polyethylene, and rubber. When selecting the insulation type, consider the ambient temperature and the operating temperature of the conductor. Fourthly, consider the installation method. The installation method of the conductor can also affect its ampacity rating. Conductors installed in free air can dissipate heat more easily than conductors installed in conduit or cable trays. National Electrical Code Tables 310.16 through 310.21 provide ampacity ratings for conductors based on their installation method. When selecting the installation method, consider the heat dissipation characteristics of the environment. Fifthly, consider the local codes and regulations. In addition to the National Electrical Code, local codes and regulations may have additional requirements for sizing the neutral conductor in a subpanel. It is important to check with your local electrical inspector to ensure that your installation complies with all applicable codes and regulations. Sixthly, consider the use of a separate equipment grounding conductor. While the neutral conductor can serve as the return path for fault currents, it is generally recommended to install a separate equipment grounding conductor. This provides a dedicated path for fault current to return to the source, reducing the risk of electric shock. Seventhly, consider the use of a ground fault circuit interrupter. A ground fault circuit interrupter is a device that detects ground faults and quickly trips the circuit breaker or fuse to prevent electric shock. Ground fault circuit interrupters are required in many locations, such as bathrooms, kitchens, and outdoor areas. Eighthly, consider the use of an arc fault circuit interrupter. An arc fault circuit interrupter is a device that detects arc faults and quickly trips the circuit breaker or fuse to prevent electrical fires. Arc fault circuit interrupters are required in many locations, such as bedrooms and living rooms. Ninthly, consider the use of surge protection. Surge protection devices protect electronic equipment from voltage surges caused by lightning strikes or power line disturbances. Surge protection devices should be installed at the main service panel and at the subpanel to provide comprehensive protection. Tenthly, consider the importance of proper grounding. Proper grounding is essential for electrical safety. Grounding provides a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, helping to quickly trip the circuit breaker or fuse and minimize the risk of electric shock. All electrical equipment and systems should be properly grounded according to the National Electrical Code.